Today I would like to reflect on a somewhat uncomfortable subject, and it has to do with the negative traits and behaviors victims adopt from a narcissist while they are enmeshed in a relationship with them. I know from personal experience, admitting that this has been happening is probably one of our greatest challenges. But co-narcissism does, in fact, exist, and sadly, it also leads to the same or similar toxic and self-sabotaging behavior we witnessed in our narcissistic partners as well. But accepting uncomfortable truths is the only way we can overcome, heal, and move on in our lives. Narcissists tend to target strong, intelligent, independent, and often very successful individuals who are, however, lacking something else in life. It's not unusual that narcissists put their hook into a person during their most vulnerable time, when they feel lonely or experience hardship, such as a personal loss or illness. Many victims are preconditioned from childhood, making them vulnerable to their manipulation. If they grew up with a narcissistic parent, for instance, and once living with a narcissist as their partner becomes their new normal, victims subconsciously adopt some of their negative traits and behavior as a coping or survival mechanism. And the isolation they are experiencing prevents them from being exposed to outside influences that could prevent a change in their behavior. Now, I try to list my points in the order they may occur in an abusive relationship with a narcissist, but everybody's experience may be different. First of all, in the beginning of your relationship, when you get to know the narcissist, their most effective tool are to love bomb and future fake you. That is when you will adopt the narcissist's magical thinking and start believing in the fantasy world they will pull you in. And yes, narcissists do believe in this fantasy and see themselves happy and successful in it. Why else do they have such a strong and resentful reaction when you confront them with your reality? Narcissists are highly delusional and often still childlike in their approach to life. They need this fantasy to keep moving forward because their lives are built on hope for the better, and so will yours the longer you stay with them. But hope is often a result of fear, and merely believing in hope without taking appropriate action gets you stuck in a cycle of endless misery. In all reality, there is no improvement with a narcissist, ever. Only a total downfall the longer you stay with them, at least for you. And speaking of love bombing, this leads me to my next point. You will adopt the narcissist's problems with personal boundaries. Narcissists are prone to overstepping or tearing other people's boundaries down by either sweet-talking or coercing them to do what they want. However, they themselves have difficulties maintaining personal boundaries because they tend to be naive and easily engage in dangerous behaviors that can lead to their own demise or the people around them. Narcissists often have a need to prove themselves in front of others. So this could include reckless actions such as driving too fast, dangerous sex practices, or irresponsible financial investments they get talked into. And once the narcissist has hooked you enough, they usually isolate you from your support system. This is when everything starts changing in and outside of yourself. It's at that particular stage where victims often adopt some of their antisocial behaviors, while antagonizing the people around them the narcissist is pitting them up against. These are usually friends or family members who recognize the narcissist's bad influence on their loved one. They create this perfect illusion of a Bonnie and Clyde relationship where the mentality is us against the rest of the world. And you will find yourself standing up and defending the narcissist and your relationship at all times. The narcissist doesn't even have to do much to cause drama and division, once they have got you in place and become the sole center of your attention. And with that comes a lot of resentment toward other people, which is my next point. Narcissists hate and resent a lot of people and hold grudges for the rest of their lives. They will also tell you a lot of crap about others, which isn't always true. I remember my ex-partner always saying, having a grudge is like drinking poison and wanting the other person to die. Of course, he only said this to get away with his own bad behavior. Meanwhile, he had so much resentment and hate for his alleged enemies. They want to silence your feelings and judgment toward them that way. But ultimately, they turn you into a very bitter and resentful person, just as bitter and resentful as themselves. Next, once the narcissist has isolated you and made you all theirs, they suddenly start inviting other people into your relationship. Triangulation is a very sadistic tool in the narcissist's repertoire. And of course, it's only the narcissist who's allowed to make new friends because deep down they are fully aware they have nothing to offer and hide their own feelings of jealousy, afraid somebody else could take you away from them at any time. Quite often, these third parties have no clue that they are being triangulated, but notice your sudden shift in resentment toward them. It's also one way for the narcissist to build their own support system of flying monkeys, to play the victim and make you look like the crazy one when they need it. And with that same jealousy comes a lot of insecurity. It's wrong to believe that narcissists are full of self-confidence. They famously fake it till they make it. They're in fact far from being confident. Hence, their constant need for power and control over others to boost and stabilize their low self-esteem. When you're with a narcissist, their constant criticism will provoke the same feelings of inadequacy, self-doubt, and low self-esteem in you that they have been dealing with all along. But it's wrong to believe that destroying their partner's self-confidence would be in any way beneficial for them. It ultimately only hurts themselves. And as I said before, narcissists target strong and independent people. And sooner or later, you will be reminded of that. But due to trauma bonding and the erosion of your self-worth and self-esteem, you will first become dependent on the narcissist's validation. Just as narcissists are dependent on the validation from others, even if they don't like to admit it. You turn from self-determined to someone who lacks their own decision-making. And your fear of abandonment keeps you stuck, feeling like you can't live on your own anymore, while in fact, you've been self-sufficient all along. Next, with your need to cling to the narcissist, their triangulation of you with others, and the multitude of other shady behavior they will display, it creates a lot of paranoia in you. And the constant walking on eggshells around your partner makes you hypervigilant to your surroundings. These are traits narcissists are all too familiar with because they don't trust a lot of people. Being in a constant fight or flight mode changes the structure of our brains. The amygdala, also known as the reptilian part of our brain, takes over to act on pure instinct as a means to survive. Ultimately, narcissists will turn a former secure person into an anxious shell of themselves. It's not uncommon to suffer from anxiety, depression, or post-traumatic stress as a result the longer you stay with them. Unfortunately, many people suffering from complex post-traumatic stress get misdiagnosed as having borderline or even narcissistic personality disorder themselves sometimes, because some of the traits, as the ones mentioned before, may overlap with their pattern of behavior. While it's true that narcissists often tend to suffer from complex post-traumatic stress, if their narcissism stems from having been raised in an abusive household, not every person with CPTSD is equally narcissistic. Personally, I like to refrain from calling it a disorder, because post-traumatic stress is not affecting you in the same way as a personality disorder would. It's a natural response to distressing and traumatic experiences anyone would have, and also very treatable. While being triggered may lead to similar, erratic, or immature behavior, it's crucial to recognize that the grandiosity and entitlement we predominantly find in narcissism are missing. And you'll most likely find yourself being a people pleaser and a giver, while narcissists are merely takers. And last but not least, as a result of all of this, you may end up with a similar fear of intimacy as a narcissist. Survivors of narcissistic abuse, who may have formerly been secure or anxious, may develop an avoidant attachment style and keep relationships and closeness to other people at an arm's length. Healing is essential to unlearn these fears and patterns, and to realize that not everyone is out there to take advantage of you, that not everyone is a narcissist. Learning to trust yourself enough to draw a line when you see a red flag is paramount. And open and honest communication are important to find the right partner who understands your initial trust issues and shows patience, compassion, and understanding so that you can learn to trust again. In summary, victims adopt the narcissist's fantastical thinking, their lack of boundaries, parts of their antisocial behavior, their feeling of resentment and jealousy toward others, their neediness and insecurity, as well their hypervigilant paranoia, symptoms of post-traumatic stress, and fear of intimacy. It's not uncommon for survivors of narcissistic abuse to want to reconnect and fix their broken relationships to their friends or family members once they have regained clarity and stepped out of the fog that the narcissist used to engulf them in. If you're one of their friends or family members listening to this podcast, please forgive them, for they didn't know what they were doing. If there's anything they need right now, it's your love and support to put their broken pieces back together. Thank you very much for listening. Stay safe and have a great day.